episode 38 of American Spirits, whereon I have not only the estimable Mr. Bagby, but also a very exciting guest for the next few episodes, Mr. Thomas Wayne Riley of the American Southwest podcast. How are you doing, Mr. Riley?
I am doing awesome. I'm very honored to be here. Thank y'all.
Excellent. Mr. Bagby, how are you this evening?
For the audience,
Oh,
he's
no.
suffering some connection issues, but
Yeah, Mr. Bagby is in somewhat spotty connection, so forgive us if he drops in and out. We'll hopefully hear from him soon. But before we launch into our treatment of the American Southwest, which is the next arc we're starting on American Spirits, I have some unfinished business to conclude from last week. It turns out that in my influenza fueled haze, failed to read an entropy super chat from our strongest soul jet, Miss Dong Browning. And so I will make that right now. But before I do, I should note that Entropy announced today that they have been debanked and they are ceasing operations. So, unfortunately, a funding source that a great many people in this scene have relied upon has been quashed by the regime. And while that is enraging and frustrating, I wish them the best in getting back up and running. But it does mean that Miss Browning will have the honor of having read out the last Entropy Super Chat to appear on this channel for the foreseeable future. Thus, Donnie B for $10 sent last week. Thanks for the Barbary stream, followed by 3 trophies. Thank you, Miss Browning. Apologies for the delay, but thank you again. It means so much. All right, that out of the way. Mr. Bagby, are you back with us? Alas, it seems not. Well, Mr. Riley, why don't you tell us a little bit? American Spirits has in its 38 episodes. Oh.
So this is incredibly disheartening because Bagby is such a good teacher, and he knows the bulk of what we're going to speak about today. So
very sad. Well, American Spirits has treated various specific subsets of America. We started our show off with the treatment of Albion Seed and the 4 folkways which migrated here from England: the Quakers, the Puritans, the Cavaliers, and the backcountry folks. We've focused on America's romance with the sea in our naval arc. We have focused on the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. Each of these pieces are a critical part of the story of America, but in terms of the American heart rather than the American mind, I can think of no piece that looms larger in the American psyche than the Southwest. And so we are going to start treating the Southwest over the next several episodes. Mr. Riley, why is the Southwest story important to Americans' understanding of themselves?
It presented a new frontier when the old Western frontier disappeared.
And by the old Western frontier, you mean Illinois.
Illinois to Mississippi and Tennessee and the Mississippi River, pretty much. So the Southwest was a new frontier that Montgomery Zebulon Pike uncovered through a spy mission from the traitor Wilkinson, but under the direction of Jefferson, to go check out. And he wrote a big book about it, and everyone read it. It was a bestseller. And I think Bagby is back. Oh, man, so close. So the American Southwest became the country's new frontier, especially after Pike, and then especially after the Texas Revolution. And then once the Mexican-American War started, I mean, within a month, because they were printing presses that were brand new and very quick and very easy to get stuff out, the entire American people were able to read about Mexico, whether it was whether it was true or not. They were able to read about this vast territory west of the Great Plains that they knew nothing about. And so the American Southwest became a new place for Americans to envision themselves inhabiting, and also in right before the Mexican American War was the whole Manifest Destiny. I forgot the author's name who wrote that right before the Mexican American War, but that became kind of a uniting factor between Whigs and Democrats at the time. And it was so the American Southwest was the promise of a future that seemed to have been lost, especially among Jeffersonian Democrats who felt like this nation needed to be a bunch of Republican farmers who lived off the land, and we weren't going to be the Hamiltonian bankers and debtors and whatnot. So
Indeed.
that's, yeah.
And as Mr. Bagby and I covered, the Hamiltonian vision by and large won out. So, to whom did this second frontier, I guess third frontier, sing? We've talked about all the different groups who made up America up to this point. Did everyone equally heed the call to go southwest, or was there a demographic preponderance among one or another group of Americans who made the trek?
It was primarily those already in the West, and even maybe, okay, so not primarily, but it was those already in the West and Southerns.
Hmm.
They felt a call to go further west. I mean, these people originated mostly in Virginia and the Carolinas, and not too many Georgians, actually, even though I'm from Georgia, but the Southerns and people already in the Mississippi area, people that follow Daniel Boone, like Davy Crockett, like Polk's, President Polk's family
Hmm.
followed Davy Crockett out. So, or not Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone out. And so, I mean, these people were already frontiersmen in an area that was being occupied by more frontiersmen. And
Hmm.
they felt like they could go further west.
And what was the human geography that these Americans going west were entering into? Presumably, there were the various Indian tribes. There were Spanish and French missions and residues already out there. What world greeted the first Anglos to come west?
That would be, yep, the French in Louisiana. And then, because the Spanish outlawed anyone going into Spanish territory up until the Mexicans won their independence in 1821, no Anglos could enter Spanish territory. You were arrested or you were sent back across the border. There was a Red River crossing in Texas. They were sent back, but Pike was arrested and then released. But multiple filibusterers were just sent to prison until Mexico won their independence, or until much later sometimes. And so after that, you would go to the Puebloans and the Indians in New Mexico and Arizona, although no one really visited the Hopis. But California was a kind of strange mixture of I guess Mexicans or Norte California. I forget the term, but Northern Californians, and there are even some Russians there, surprisingly. But in the Northwest, there were British, although very few who co-owned Oregon. But we're talking about the Southwest, so we don't got to worry about that. But
Yeah, we'll get to the Pacific Northwest in due
yeah,
course, but this
yeah.
is
Sorry.
the Southwest time to shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, California is kind of an interesting asynchronicity because it is simultaneously the furthest west of the territories we're discussing, yet it was the first that the Americans really reached, wasn't it?
Well, I would say Texas was, if you
Hmm.
count Texas, the American Southwest, which I kind of do on the periphery, especially Western Texas, although no Anglos settled Western Texas for quite some time.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I would say California is where the first Americans kind of settled, and they went into the San Joaquin Valley, south of Sacramento, north of Bakersfield, and between the mountain ranges. It's where the Okies went later, 100 years later, actually.
Including the forebears of a certain three-digited friend of ours.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mr. shares my name, yeah. And, so that was and actually, before Texas annexation, the Polk administration kind of hoped, and the Democrats kind of hoped that enough Americans would flood into California that they would just eventually become American. And then after
Hmm.
the Texas Revolution, they were like, oh, yeah, for sure. But then, okay, so I kind of mix that up. At Texas annexation, when the American administration realized this is going to cause a war, well, the Polk administration had to speed up the gradual time of Americans taking over. And so, yeah, we just took it over during the war.
Hmm. Yeah, and then right after the war, you had the 1848 gold rush, which you want to talk about how that was an impetus to fill out California?
So there was the Mormon battalion left Council Bluffs. It makes sense. Trust me. They left
All
Council
right.
Bluffs, Iowa, and they went. They followed Kearney down to Santa Fe, and then they went to Arizona, and then dipped into Mexico. Not very long. Then they made their way to San Diego. They were disbanded. Most of them went to Salt Lake City. Some of them decided to stay in California,
Hmm.
and a lot of those miners they attached, or a lot of these just soldiers who no longer had a job and they didn't feel like going to the deserts of Utah because they didn't have a wife or whatnot. They stayed in California and they worked for, oh shoot, the guy that discovered the California Gold Rush, that mine that I think it was like a mill, Sutter's Mill. That sounds
Yep.
right. Yeah. So they ended up working for Sutter and they discovered gold. And I mean, just 2 years prior to that, California was Mexican. So things could have gone a lot different. But once that opened up, it was just I have a book called The World Rushed In I was given in college, and it's about the discovery of I have not read it in 20 years, but it's about the discovery of gold in California, and literally the world rushed in. Russian, Chinese, French, I mean, the entire population of the world that had boats came to the United States to go to California.
Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We
sir.
can.
Okay. I wanted to interject. I only have spurts of connectivity, it seems. Um, the big problem for the Mexicans was the depopulation of their northern provinces. These areas were very sparsely populated through most of the Spanish period and then into the Mexican period. And this was a major difficulty.
So if Bagby doesn't come, once he comes back, I'll stop talking. But he's absolutely right.
Hmm.
Um, the Northern Territories were depopulated first in 1680 during the Pueblo Revolt. That was mostly New Mexico, but at the start of the American Civil War, there were 800 Mexicans in Arizona. There
Wow.
were, I think, less than 10,000 in California, but that was after. No, not the Civil War, the Mexican American War.
Hmm.
And so there were, I mean, these whole areas were depopulated of Mexicans by this point, and that caused a lot of resentment. Well, first of all, they were so far away from DF or Mexico City
Hmm.
that it took you could get to Los Angeles quicker than you could get to Santa Fe from Mexico City because you could take a
Wow.
boat to
Yeah.
the California coast, but you had to walk up a very dangerous, very hot, very dry road to from Mexico City all the way to Santa Fe. And then Santa Fe, only about, I don't know the mileage, but an hour's drive now, maybe 50, 60 miles northwest was the last outpost of Mexican or Spanish and then Mexican entire population for a long time, Abiquiu. And then up north you had Taos, but that was mostly, again, Taos Puebloans. And so this area was extremely remote and extremely depopulated. The few people that spoke Spanish that lived in Nevada, Utah, Colorado, they were called Genizaros, and they were third class citizens, if that. I mean, maybe lower, because they were mixed, if that, and they were just there to trade, and but they were Indian and they were kind of Mexican sometimes or Spanish, but they were nominally Catholic. These places just were not completely uninhabited, but very depopulated by the time America decided we had a God-given right for manifest destiny.
So when you say it was depopulated, do you mean that the Mexicans had settled these territories and then there was a depopulation, or had they simply never been there at all and just inherited the territory from Spain
There was not a single Mexican in Colorado, Utah, or Nevada.
and never had been?
Yeah, never had been. So they
Okay.
never settled that area. I mean, they explored it. They absolutely explored it, and they went to go mine it, but they did not live there.
Hmm.
I mean, the first European descendants to live in one of those three states, well, not quite. The first major population was the Mormons in Utah. There were a lot of mines and settlements starting to pop up around that time in Colorado around silver mostly, but some gold mines. Nevada had
Hmm.
still, it was too dry. They hadn't quite yet discovered that it was also rich in minerals.
How were they getting the minerals out? Had the railroads reached that far in at that point?
On the backs of burros.
Wow.
Yeah, they would go in, find a vein, not tell anybody, mine it, put it on the back of a burro pack with a couple other Henizaros or Mestizos or whatnot, and they would carry them down to the major cities. That'd be Tubac, Tucson, Santa Fe, and that's it actually, or maybe L.A. and San Francisco.
I,
But
ma- I imagine those mule trains must have been quite dangerous to be a part of.
well, there was a certain group that already lived there that decided it was a lot of fun to raid those, and
Hmm.
then after the engines, it was the banditos. So
The most promising part of this period was the mission period, where the Franciscan
see, this is what I wanted to hear. But I wanted to learn tonight, not to talk, and I
Yeah,
wanted Bagby to tell me about the mission system, and I
indeed.
was
I
very
think
I'm
we
excited
may.
to learn about it.
I'm so sorry about my connection. It's very frustrating. Um,
No, no worries.
so
It can't be helped.
in 1711, the first Jesuit priest came into what is now Arizona, and his name was Eusebio Kino. And
Oh, Kino has an awesome
census,
story. Oh, here he is.
he maps Sonora, Baja California, and parts of Arizona, and he establishes the first missions in the area. 24 of them, in fact. He meets the Pima, the Apache, and the Yuma Indians, among others. Um, and after him, we see in California. So the mission effort is a very important one because this had the possibility of civilizing some of these Indian nations and turning them into Mexican citizens. The whole thing gets thrown away by the secularization of the church lands in the 1830s, which is a Mexican liberal reform. Um, in the 1830s, there are 20,000.
He's
Can you
still
still hear
connected.
me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Intermittently, gentlemen, I fear we're going to have to give this up as a bad job. Our gentle audience, let us treat this as a preview for the upcoming American Spirits series on the Southwest. With God's grace and modern technology's help, we will have a better connection next week, and we will try to cover this properly rather than buzzing in and out and missing topics and missing wonderful stories and very interesting things that we will bring to you next week with God's help. So, Mr. Bagby, I apologize. Mr. Wayne Riley, I apologize for bringing you on and only
No,
having us having us
I'm
bounce about a bit. But
I'm glad to
thank
be
you
here, and I
both.
cannot wait to hear Bagby.
Indeed. Thank you both, gentlemen. We will have spectacular things in store. next week, or if we have to, the week after that, or if we have to, the week after that. But we will get this done. We will bring you this story, and you will understand your American heritage all that much better. Let me do a quick scan. We have received no super chats, so the audience is castigating us for our poor quality this evening, and we apologize deeply. But thank you very much, Mr. Riley. Do you have anything to shill?
I would say stay tuned to American Spirits and also visit
Ex-
the American Southwest and listen to my mother told me it was her favorite show. So
What better attestation could one wish? Mr. Bagby, I will step into your shoes and encourage everyone to go to Tall Man Books to see what wonderful wares Mr. Bagby is bringing out this week. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure that they are, as every week, required reading that everyone should check out. So, Tall Man Books, the link is in the description.